Chronicles of Narnia: The Last Battle. Chapter 15. Further Up and Further In. "Know, warlike kings," said Emeth, "and you, O ladies whose beauty illuminates the universe, that I am Emeth, the seventh son of Harpaka Tarkhan, of the city of Tirispan, westward beyond the desert. I came lately into Narnia 29 and others in command of Rishta Tarkhan. Now when I first heard that we should march upon Narnia, I rejoiced, for I had heard many things of your land, and desired greatly to meet you in battle. But when I found that we were to go in disguised as merchants, which is a shameful dress for a warrior and the son of Tarkhan, and to work by lies and trickery, and my joy departed from me. And most of all, when I found we must wait upon a donkey and a monkey, when it began to be that Tush and Tarkhan were one, then the world became dark in my eyes. For always I was a boy, and I have served Tush, and my great desire was to show more of him, if it might be to look upon his face. But the name of Aslan was hateful to me, and as you have seen, we were called together outside the road full late at night, and the fire was kindled, and the air brought forth out of the hovel something upon 4 legs that I could not well see, and the people and the beasts bowed down to honour it. But I thought that Tarkhan is deceived by the ape, for that thing that comes out of the stable is neither Tash nor any other god. But when I watched Tarkhan's face, I marked every word that he said to the monkey. Then I changed my mind, for I saw that Tarkhan did not believe in it himself. Then I understood that he didn't believe in Tush at all, for if he had, how could he dare to mock him? When I understood this, a great rage fell upon me, and I wondered that the true Tush did not strike down both the monkey and Tarkhan with fire from heaven. Nevertheless, I hid my anger, and held my tongue, and waited to see how it could end. But last night, as some of you know, the monkey brought out forth the yellow thing that said all who despised it to look upon Tashlan, for they mixed the two words to pretend that they were all one, would part by one into the hovel, and I thought to myself, doubtless this is some other deception. But when the cat followed in and had come out again in a madness of terror, I said to myself, surely the true Tash, whom they called without knowledge of belief, has now come among us, and will avenge himself. And of the greatness of the terror of Tashid my desire was stranger than fear, and I put force upon my knees to stay them from trembling, and on my teeth that they should not chatter, and resolved to look upon the face of Tash though he should slay me. I offered myself to go into the hovel, and the Tarkhan, though unwillingly, let me go. As soon as I had gone in the door, the first wonder was that I found myself in this great sunlight, as we all are now, though the inside of the hovel had looked dark from the outside. But I had no time to marvel at this, for immediately I was forced to fight for my head against one of our men. As soon as I saw him, I understood that the monkey and the Tarkhan had sent him there to slay any who came and they were not in their secrets. So that this man, who was a liar and a mocker and a no true servant of Tush, I had better will to fight him, and having slain the villain, I cast him out behind me through the door. Everybody, I apologize for the background noise. Then I looked out about me, and I saw the sky and the white land, and smelled the sweetness. And I, by the gods, this pleasant place, it might be out that I come into the country of Tush, and I began the journey into the strange country, and to seek him. So I went over much grass and many flowers, and among all kinds of wholesome, delicate trees till lo, in a narrow place between two rocks there came to meet me a great lion. The spirit of him was like an ostrich, and the size of an elephant. His hair was like pure gold, and his brightness of his eyes was like a gold liquid in the furnace. He is more terrible than the flapping mouth of Lego, and in beauty he surprised is an old world, even as the rose bottom surpasses the dust of the desert. And I fell at his feet and thought, surely this is the hour of death, for the lion, who is worthy of all honour, will know that I have served Tush all my days, and not him. Nevertheless, it is better to see the lion than die, than to be the shock of the world, and live not to have seen him. But the glorious one bent down his head and touched my forehead with his tongue, and said, Son, thou art welcome. But I said, Alas, Lord, I am no son of thine, but the servant of Tush. I count a service done to me. Then by reason of my great desire for wisdom and understanding, I overcome my fear and questioned the glorious one, and said, Lord, is it then true, as the ape said, that thou art and Tush art one? The lion growled so that the earth shook, but his wrath was not against me, and said, It is false. Not because he and I are one, but because we are opposite, did I take me the services which thou hast done to him. For vile can be no done to me, and none is not vile which can be done to him. Therefore, if any man swear by Tash to keep his oath for the oath's sake, it is by me that he has truly sworn, though he know it not. For it is I who then, though he says his name is Aslan, it is Tash whom he serves, and by Tash's deed accepted. Dost thou understand, child? I said, Lord, thou knowest much, I understand. But I said also, for the truth constrained me. Yet I have been seeking Tash for all my days. Beloved, said the glorious one, unless thy desire had been for me, thou wouldst not have lived so long and truly, for all find what they truly seek. Then he breathed upon me and took away the trembling from my limbs and caused me to stand upon my feet. And after that he said not much, but he said we could meet again, and I must go further up and further in. Then he turned about him in a storm and a feather of gold and was gone suddenly. And since then, O kings and ladies, have I been wondering to find him, and my happiness is so great that it even weakens me like a wound. And this is the marvel of marvels that called me beloved, me who am but a dog. Eh, was that? Said one of the dogs. Sir, said Emeth, it is but a fashion of speech which we have in Calaman. Well, I can't say it's one I like very much, said the dog. He doesn't mean any harm, said an older dog. After all, we call our puppies boys when they don't behave properly. So we do, said the first dog. Or girls. Shh, said the old dog. That's not a nice word to use. Remember who you are. Look, said Jill suddenly. Someone was coming, rather timidly, to meet them, a graceful creature on 4 feet, all silvery grey. They stared at him a whole 10 seconds before 5 or 6 voices said at once, Why, it's old Puzzle! They had never seen him in daylight, with the lion skin off, and made an extraordinary difference. He himself was now a beautiful donkey with such a soft greatcoat and such a gentle, honest face that if you had seen him you would have done just what Jill and Lucy did, rushed forward and put your arms around his neck and kissed his nose and stroked his ears. When I asked him where he had been, he said he'd come in at the door along with all the other creatures, but he had, well, to tell the truth, he had been keeping out of their way as much as he could, and out for Aslan's country. For the sight of the real lion made him so ashamed of all that nonsense about dressing up in the lion skin that he did not know how to look anyone in the face. But when he saw that all his friends were going away westward, and after had a mouthful of grass, and I've never tasted such good grass in my life, said Puzzle, he plucked up its courage and followed. But what I'll do if I really need to meet Aslan, I don't know, he added. You'll find it all right when you really do, said Queen Lucy. Then they went forward together, always westward, for that it seemed to be the direction Aslan had made when he cried out, further up and further in. Any other grassy country was very wide and there was no crowding. It seemed to be early, and the morning freshness was in the air. They kept on stopping to look around, but partly because there was something which they could not understand. Peter, said Lucy, where is this, do you suppose? I don't know, said the High King. It reminds me of somewhere, but I can't give it a name. Could it be somewhere once stayed for a holiday when we were very, very small? It would have been a jolly good holiday, said Eustace. I bet there isn't a country like this anywhere in our world. Look at the colours. You can't get a blue like the blue in those mountains in our world. Is it not Aslan's country? Said Trinian. Not like Aslan's country on the top of the mountain beyond the eastern end of the world, said Jill. I've been there. If you ask me, said Edmund, it's like somewhere in the Narnian world. Look at those mountains ahead, big ice mountains beyond them. Surely they're rather like the mountains we used to see from Narnia, the ones westward beyond the waterfall. Yes, so they are, said Peter. Only these are bigger. I don't think those ones are so like anything in Narnia, said Lucy. But look there. She pointed southward to the left, and everyone stopped and turned to look. Those hills, said Lucy, the nice and woody ones with the blue ones behind. Aren't they very like the southern border of Narnia? Like, cried Red the moment silence. Why, they're exactly alike. Look Mount Pi with its forked head. There's the path into Archenland and everything. And yet they're not like, said Lucy. They're different. They have more colours on them, and they look further away than I remembered they more, I don't know. More like the real thing, said the Lord Diggory softly. Suddenly Farsight the eagle spread his wings, soared 30 or 40 feet up into the air, circled around, and alighted on the ground. Kings and queens, he cried, we have all been blind. We are only beginning to see where we are. From where I've seen it, Edensmoor, Beaversmoor, the great river, Cherpravel still shining on the edge of the eastern sea. Narnia's not dead. This is Narnia. But how can it be? Said Peter. For Aslan told us the other ones would never return to Narnia, and here we are. Yes, said Eustace, and we saw it all destroyed and the sun put out. And it's all so different, said Lucy. The eagle's right, said the Lord Degree. Listen, Peter. When Aslan said you could never go back to Narnia, he meant the Narnia you were thinking of. But that was not the real Narnia. That had a beginning and an end. It was the only shadow or copy of the real Narnia, which has always been here and will always be here. Just as our world, England and all, is only a shadow or copy of something in Aslan's real world. You need not mourn over Narnia, Lucy. All of the old Narnia that mattered, all the dear creatures have been drawn into the real Narnia through the door. And of course it is different. As never does a real thing is from a shadow, as a walking life is from a dream. His voice stirred everyone like a trumpet as he spoke in all those words, but he added under his breath, It's all in Plato, all in Plato. Bless me, what do they teach them at these schools? The other ones laughed. It was so exactly like the sort of things I heard him say long ago in the other world where his beard was grey instead of golden. He knew why they were laughing and joined the laugh himself. But very quickly they all became grave again, for, as you know, there's a kind of happiness and wonder that makes you serious. It is too good to waste on joke. It was hard to explain how the sunlit land was different from the old Narnia, as it would be to tell you how the fruits of the country taste. Perhaps you will get some idea of how, if you think it like this. It may have been in a room which there was a window that looked out on a lovely bare sea in a green valley, and wound away among mountains. And in the wall of that room, opposite to the window, there may have been a looking glass. And as you turned away from the window, you suddenly caught sight of a sea of that valley, all over again, in the looking glass. And the sea in the mirror, or the valley in the mirror, were in one sense just the same as the real ones, yet at the same time they were somehow different, deeper, more wonderful, more like places in a story. And a story you have never heard but very much want to know. The difference between the old Narnia and the new Narnia was like that. The new one was a deeper country. Every rock and flower and blade of glass looked like as if it meant more. I can't describe it any better than that. If you get there, you will know what I mean. It was the unicorn who summoned up what everyone was feeling. He stamped his right forehoof on the ground and neighed and cried, I have come home at last. This is my real country. I belong here. This is the land where I've been looking for all my life, though I never knew it now. The reason is why we love the old Narnia is because it sometimes looks a little like this. Bree! Come on, further up and further in. He shook his mane and sprang forward into a great gallop, a unicorn gallop, which in our world would be the most strange thing happened. Everyone else began to run, and they found in astonishment that they could keep up with him. Not only the dogs and the humans, but even a fat little puzzle and short-legged Pog the dwarf, and the air flew in their faces as they were driving fast in a car without windscreen. The country was the windows of an express train. Fast and faster they raced. No one got hot or tired or out of breath.